Welcome to the Beyond Divorce Embracing Change podcast. My name is Michael Flores, and I will be your host while we explore the complex journey of divorce with empathy, insight, and practical knowledge. Whether you're contemplating separation, in a divorce, or looking for support post-divorce, our episodes provide expert guidance, stories, and strategies to help you through every step of the process. We are actual therapists, helping clients who sit on our couches every day through their difficulties of divorce. You are not alone. Join us as we delve in and find solutions that give you hope again. We're glad you're here.
This podcast is not intended to replace legal or personal help. This podcast is for informational purposes only.
Janan, I'm really glad you're back for this episode. This is going to be probably one of the most listened to episodes because I think it comes up so much when we talk about just parenting, co-parenting, but really getting into the parenting styles.
Yeah.
And how important it is to talk about how parents do parenting themselves. You are really going to want to stick around for this. Janan's got some tips at the end of this deal, and I think it's more than 3, right?
Yes.
Most people I'll give you 3 tips. You know, it's more than 3.
Yes, it's more than 3.
Well, I'm sticking around. I don't have a choice. I'm excited to hear about it. I hope you'll stick around to get those tips because we want to make sure you're getting information that you can find helpful, effective, and hopefully use right away. But I think we got to figure out what kind of parent are you in the first place, don't we?
Yeah. So, you know, in the psychology world, they've the powers that be, whoever they are, I don't know who they are.
The ones that do evaluations and testing and all that mess.
They make more money than I do.
Yeah, they probably are. Pay grade's a little different, yeah.
So they have 4 different parenting styles. You may have heard of this. If you took a parenting class, I guarantee you've probably heard of all 4 of these parenting styles. We're going to kind of go over them a little bit just so we can refresh your memory if you've already heard about them, or to kind of teach you kind of what they are. Crash course on parenting styles. How about that? First one, in no particular order, is authoritarian. So authoritarian, it emphasizes, and I have some notes to look. I'm going to be looking at them. Emphasizes obedience and control. So you have high expectations, and you don't. And kind of, I think the general consensus with this one is that not a lot of support, not a lot of communication with kids as far as like why I have these rules, why I have these expectations. It's just kind of do as I say and don't ask me any questions.
Do as I say because I said so.
Yeah. Because I said so. Or like my grandpa says, because Y's aren't S's.
Y's aren't what?
Aren't S's.
Oh my gosh.
What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know what that means. But that was minimal communication as to why I have to do what he tells you to do.
Well, whatever it meant, you probably knew somewhere as a child, like that means don't say another word.
It means don't talk to me anymore about this and do what I tell you to do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So anyways, that's kind of what authoritarian is.
Wow.
And they're very punishment based.
Okay.
Timeout, whoopings, spankings, those kind of things. Very punishment based. Negative reinforcement, taking stuff away.
Is an authoritarian parenting style more built on molding? I'm going to shape you into the person that I want you to be for me. Like you're going to be...
Or just
the
person either for me or just that I believe is going to be the most productive in society, you know?
Sure. So authoritarian parents actually still believe they're doing what they believe will help them be the most productive in society.
I think
they're not necessarily doing it
to be mean or punitive or anything like that.
Right.
It's just, this is kind of how, I mean, a lot of times, I'll tell you, like old school Black families,
mm-hmm.
it's just called, authoritarian is old school parenting, really. So it's just like, this is kind of how it was. You just do what you are told.
Yeah. My grandparents, I would say it's weird because the way I remember them when I was around them growing up and the way they parented, it felt like an authoritarian, but I know you're going to get into authoritative in a minute, but it had this feel of authoritative. This is weird because I didn't question. I couldn't question. If I did question, it wasn't like they were really taking the time to explain. It makes any sense. Like, it's because I said
they're
so.
not.
My grandpa used to ask me one time, we were going to a store and he said, do you have any money? And I'm like probably 7 years old. I have no money. He's like, do you have any money? Where are they going to the store? Does he have any money?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no. He goes, then you can't buy anything? I said, no. He goes, then you don't need to touch nothing, then do you? No, that was my way of don't touch anything in the store.
Yeah.
My parents say, hey, when we go in there, don't touch anything. You don't want to break anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my gosh. And then if I was started to touch something, he didn't ask me not to touch it. He used to use his fingernail and he'd hit me in the head with it. And I'd poke my head.
Yeah.
Oh, and it hurt. It wasn't abuse. It was, he was directing me. But there was a component to what you said. There was a very black and white.
Yep.
There was punishments put into place, but I never felt unloved at all. But
yeah.
I would say that he might have had an authoritarian point. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something to think about.
And I mean, none of these mean that there's less or more love. I want to say that you have.
Maybe that's
an
important thing for people to hear.
I think that's really important to hear because it's just like, oh, some parents are actually military parents, and this is just kind of how they do it. But
is that a good way to remember authoritarians? The military?
Yeah, probably.
It's more like a military take on. Think of what you think of the military. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Understood.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that this parent loves their kid any less.
Deal.
So that's very important to remember when we go through these.
Deal.
Permissive is the next one, permissive parenting style, and it focuses on nurturing and allowing the child a high degree of autonomy and freedom. I'm not going to say what I usually call it, but there's low expectations for behavior, low parental control. It's not necessarily that these kids are like running amok and doing whatever, but there's not a lot of boundaries. There's not a lot of clear boundaries. So the boundaries are usually pretty permeable. You can do this sometimes. Sometimes I want you to not do it. But these parents have a lot of high responsiveness, which means they're very communicative. They're very, I'll say, very, very supportive. And it's just, I want my child to be very, very independent and kind of explore and do whatever they want to do, and they'll figure it out themselves.
Yeah. So the kids are going to bump into a lot of, it sounds like this type of parenting, kids are going to have a lot of bumps and bruises and scrapes along the way. And this is the parent who says they'll learn through the experience.
Yes.
Yeah. What about like real big stuff, like a kid wants to use drugs or something? Does a permissive parent allow it?
I don't know that answer. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean,
no, I know it's a hard question.
Where do they have?
Like, where's their line?
Yeah, where's their line?
That's the problem, I think, with permissive parents. Is a permissive parent, we don't have a clear line. And so if the other parent or the co-parent is in a very different state, whether they're authoritarian or whatever else, imagine an authoritarian and a permissive parent. Oh my gosh.
We'll get into that.
Okay, we're getting that.
We'll get into that.
I'm just saying, like, you can already see that dynamic.
The contention, the clash.
Contention that can come up. So,
yes.
So I think this is good that we're doing it this way. Okay. What else did you have on permissive parents?
Very little discipline.
Okay.
Yeah.
They do discipline, but it's very little.
It's very little. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe they will have whatever boundary they do have, but I don't know what it would be. Because it's
that's what I'm saying.
Permissive.
The line's not clear. Maybe that's the best thing with permissive parents is we don't know where that line is.
Yeah. I think maybe the best answer is I don't know because it's permissive, right?
Well, they're going to learn through the experience. I don't know. They'll figure it out. So that's what I'm saying. We don't have a clear line. Yeah, I don't know. Right. Next,
we'll go with. Well, I'm going to do the next one. Be uninvolved or neglectful.
Yeah, I learned it as neglectful, but uninvolved. I mean,
uninvolved, neglectful. One of those. I mean, I find them to be two different ones to me. It
sounds like it.
Like when, but I guess they could be the same too. This is a lack of responsiveness, no emotional support, no demands, no rules, no supervision. We're just kind of this is free for all.
Well, that would be what minimal. They call that the triple P parent.
Well, okay, is this a joke or?
No, the triple P parent. Piss poor parenting.
Ah. Oh, we heard that.
We literally heard that at a court. Remember?
Yes.
Someone came out and said that they call that the triple P parent, and I was like, "What's the triple P parent?" And then they said that, and I was like, "That might be what they're describing." I didn't ask. I was like, they already have their own name for it. That might be that style. Yeah, just you're not even a parent, so why are you even right? It's just so you're telling me in that style of parenting. I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong. They are just completely out. They're not even involved with the kid.
That I would say that would be the uninvolved part, but neglectful would be they just have low control, low responsiveness. Like they're just kind of indifferent, kind of checked out.
Yeah. So like, what about like feeding the kid and stuff? Are they feeding them or are they telling the kid fend for yourself?
I mean, when you say neglectful, it might be just like I'm sleeping in and you got to fend for yourself.
I'm doing me, you do you, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whatever happens. If
you're hungry, figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm not available.
I'm in my room all the time playing my video games or something.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Minimal.
That's an actual style?
Yeah, it's a newer one. I'm going to say newer as in, like, when I was in school, we had 3.
Yeah, I heard of 4. I've heard of neglectful.
Okay.
It's just
so
sad
you've
to
heard
think.
of 4.
Yeah, it's sad to think it's considered a style of parenting. It doesn't sound like you're parenting at all. I mean, no. Okay. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't know.
I guess I'm giving my opinion too much. But continue. So we have a neglectful parent. That might be the parent that CPS shows up on.
Well, I would say this is kind of the parent that necessarily we don't necessarily see.
Yeah,
in
I could
our
see
line
that.
of work, because if we're in court and we're, fighting for like custody and time,
You're not dealing with a neglectful parent.
you're not.
They're neglectful.
No,
Uninvolved. Like, yeah, he can have the kid.
No,
I don't care.
it's just what's the point of fighting? So we're not necessarily going to see this, but it does happen. I mean, I used to work for CPS, so I did see this.
Well, hold on. Let me backtrack then. This is going to sound really bad. I mean,
Okay.
This is really going to sound bad. You could probably have a neglectful parent, uninvolved parent, but needs money.
Okay.
So they are going to fight in court, but not because they want the kid.
Oh, because they want the money.
Uh-huh. Now, how do you discern that? I don't know.
Well, I mean, they would have to be putting on a show then, right?
Sure. Well, we get told that. The parents, put on a show, and we get told that all the time by the parents. But what I'm saying is I wonder if there's a possibility, not a brighter one, put that out there, but there's a possibility.
Darker one.
Yeah. There's a possibility out there that there could be a parent that is a neglectful or uninvolved parent, and they put on the front that they want to be involved, but in actuality is a hidden agenda.
Or like, yeah, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But you're right. We may not be working with them, but I don't know.
Maybe we do.
We might.
Like, now I'm thinking about it, and it's like there could be a parent that's, on paying, some type of child support, but then it's just like, oh, now I want to be a parent, but I really don't.
I will say, now that I think about it,
Or I want to be an involved parent.
I might have had a couple of cases
Mm-hmm.
where I actually had that parenting style. But I will tell you this, I'm wondering if in that parenting style there was a mental health component. That parent...
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just, man, you're making me think. It's okay. Well, you're not going to discuss
That's for
that
a
later.
different podcast.
Which one is that? I got to create that one too. Okay, no. So, okay. So
All right.
What else do you have
And
on
then
that?
our last one
Mm-hmm.
is authoritative.
Okay. There's 4, and this is the 4th one.
This is the 4th one, authoritative. There's a balance between high responsiveness and demands.
What do you mean by high responsiveness?
High responsiveness would be more so like communicative. I'm responding to my kid. Like, my kid says, why do I have to do this? Right. And I mean,
And you're there. You show
you're
up.
there.
Yep.
You show up. You say, this is the reasons why this rule is in place, why this expectation is in place. So being very responsive.
Got it. High responsiveness.
High responsiveness. Making clear boundaries.
Oh.
And then, like I kind of said, explaining the rules while fostering communication and independence. So, essentially, what you're doing is you're just like, these are the rules of the house. These are these are not my boundaries, but the household boundaries, and these are the reasons why we have these boundaries.
And feel free to explore within those boundaries.
You have opinions, my child, but no decisions, my child. That's what that is. Love to hear from you.
That sounds like parenting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's the authoritative.
Now, in psychology, when you were learning about this, did they say that there was one particular style that made more sense than another? Like when you want to raise a good, healthy, independent child, well-rounded, which style did they say was most effective in doing that?
Oh, authoritative, the last one. That's why I kept it for last.
The last one. Okay.
Yes.
What else do we need to know about authoritative?
These ones, I mean, they set rules. They have expectations. They listen to children's opinions, but they also show warmth. So it's kind of like if you have in a continuum, you have authoritarian over here that is like, do as I say. Blah, blah.
Yeah, black and white. Say it. Yeah, do as I say. Don't ask questions.
And then I guess you have the uninvolved way over here.
Uh-huh.
But then in your happy medium is probably your authoritative. I'm going to
I
do this
see
the whole
what you
entire
mean now.
time.
I see what you mean now.
It's,
you draw it on a continuum.
You're on a continuum.
Okay.
Yeah, you're authoritative.
You have two ends, two poles. Okay. So you're doing authoritarian on one pole, and you're doing neglectful on the other?
You're going to have to put this in there somewhere.
And so permissive is kind of going toward the middle, but the dead center would be authoritative.
Dead center would be authoritative, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like the sweet spot. So we'll call that the bullseye.
Yes. That's the one you want to aim for.
Okay.
And granted, I mean, look, nobody's going to be a perfectly authoritative parent.
What?
I mean, you might be, Michael.
Yeah, right. I was so kidding. I was so kidding. I'll be honest with you. There's been times where I just got tired and I was permissive. I'll be honest with you. I was just tired. I was a permissive parent, and then I backtracked real quick and said, that's on me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's I hope that my children, when my own children grow up as adults and become parents themselves and maybe learn this, my greatest wish would they go back and say, my dad was, right, an authoritative parent. But I will beg you to differ that one of my children, if not more than one, may see me as an authoritarian parent. Because I've learned with kids, and I'm going to throw this out there, you can interview multiple kids from one family, and they all will tell you something a little different about their parents. There may be some similarities. So it's almost like your kids are being raised by the same parent, but a different parent, because they might experience you different. Like with one of my kids, I don't have to take a very approach, right?
Yeah.
I can do it. I can be a little bit more in the authoritative side. But another one of my kids doesn't respond to that as well, and so I take on more of a authoritarian side. Maybe when my children are getting older, I don't know if you think this is possible.
Oh yeah,
they get into
it'll
teen
change
age.
a little bit.
Yeah, maybe you become more as a permissive parent. Maybe as they adapt and learn and become independent, you start kind of moving backward a little bit into a different style. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I kind of said a continuum, because it's fluid, right?
It can be fluid.
It can be fluid depending on the kid, depending on their developmental age.
Yeah,
but developmental age and then their actual age.
But if you want to hone in on one and just say, I want to really master one of these styles, you're saying go with authoritative.
Yeah, authoritative. Like start there and then move wherever you need to go, depending on the situation of where you're at.
Got it. Okay.
I would say.
All right.
That's parenting styles.
All right. So what's the next thing that we need to touch on?
I think since we're kind of talking about, we're really talking about co-parenting, and co-parenting in different households, not necessarily the same household, because obviously you can co-parent in the same household too. But since this is, beyond divorce, you're obviously going to be co-parenting in different households, right? Let's hope. Yep. Right? Unless you're, never mind. Anyways, so where do the problems arise when you have a parent, let's say a parent that, like you said, that's authoritative and a parent that is permissive? They live in two different households. The kid is living two different lives, I'm assuming at that point. How do these two parents co-parent together?
Oh, so basically when your co-parenting style, basically your parenting style clashes in some way with the co-parent. Yeah. What do we do in that situation?
What do we do?
Ooh.
What do they do?
Ooh. You're asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, Janan, of course. You're gonna
I spun it on you.
Okay, so the first thing I think, and this is why I was talking about permissives earlier about the line, I think in co-parenting, and I was talking to Armando earlier about this, is you have to parentally align before I think you co-parent.
Okay. So
parental alignment is, do we agree on where we're headed? Like, okay, like take a highway, for example. I mean, there's tons of different highways, but if we're going to go to like take a trip to Florida, there's a couple of different ways to get into Florida. We don't have to take the same highway, right? There's different roads that lead into Florida.
Right.
However, the target's the same, which is get to Florida. And so I think parents, regardless of style, have to align on what are we trying to accomplish with this kid? Are we really wanting this kid to have a relationship with both of us or just one of us?
Mm-hmm.
If we want to have a kid have a relationship with both of us, then we have to go, okay, we want that. So we aligned here. So now how are we going to parent to achieve that? Right?
Yes.
We both want our kid to be educated, graduate from school. So then we have to align on how are we going to target that. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So the step one, if you have two different parenting styles and you start figuring this out as a co-parent, is you sit down and say, where do we align? What are we trying to accomplish? What do we want for this child when it comes to us, to their future, whatever it may be? Get your alignment. Then you want to set the lines. Because if you have a permissive parent, they don't have clear lines.
Right.
So in reality, the hope would be that the permissive parent would lean on the authoritative parent. Right? Or lean on, because here's what I've actually seen. I've seen a permissive parent and an authoritarian parent.
Good.
And those clash immensely because the authoritarian parent will complain that the other parent lets them do too much. The permissive parent says the other parent's too hard on them.
Mm-hmm.
And so they went the other end, which is I'm still involved, but I kind of just let them learn as they go. And that becomes a huge clash. When those two parents don't agree, I used to always tell them, take the stricter of the two
Okay.
Because then neither one of you is undermined, but it is harder on the kid. If you take the stricter of the two, it's always harder on the kid. The kid always gets the harder of the two of them. However, neither one of the parents feels undermined. Does it make sense? And I think permissive parents have to kind of lean in a little bit to the authoritarian parent or authoritative parent, but the authoritarian parent also has to lean in a little bit. And so really what they're trying to figure out is, where do we lean?
Where in that continuum do they go?
Correct. Where are we supposed to lean here? And I do agree that when you look at age and as a kid is progressing, you want to lean a little bit further away. So maybe here's the question, if it's a continuum. When the child is very small, do we start authoritarian? Right? So don't touch the outlet. Don't do this. No, that's because I said so, whatever.
A lot of no's, right?
Yep. And then as they start progressing, we go into an authoritative stance.
Yeah.
Right? And then as they get into like their later teen years, as they're progressing into adulthood, driving, working, whatever, kind of get into a more permissive stance.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they move out of the house and they're out of college, getting their own life going, be neglectful. Go take your trips.
You're kind of uninvolved, right?
Yeah, like I ain't doing that.
Right.
I'm a grandparent. I'm not the parent. Y'all figure that out, right? I'm traveling. I'm taking trips. No, I'm teasing. But you see, I just walked through that. Like you can start one. That's why maybe none of the styles are really bad.
Right. That's what it is. Yeah.
But when they clash, you have to learn to lean into one another.
Right.
Like, where is the lean? You got to get lines. I think that's the answer is parents have to discuss where's the target and what arrows are we using to hit the target. So where are the lines, right? Once I think that discussion can happen, I'm sure they can find a way to work through that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's you put me on the spot. I'm answering it best.
I mean, that's a great answer. That's a great,
long, but
it kind of went into some of my tips and tricks.
Oh, great.
So
I'm already going into the tips. I ain't read them yet. Okay.
We don't even need that anymore, do we?
Yeah, we do. Don't say that. They're going to turn this podcast off. I want them to keep listening that you have tips. So you keep it going. Okay. So now what other clashes have you seen, Janan, when it comes to different styles?
I mean, I think authoritarian, permissive are probably the biggest one because they're so opposite.
Or even neglectful. Can you imagine one authoritarian, one neglectful?
Well, and like when I neglectful, and then I kind of mesh it with uninvolved, so it's kind of like, I hate to say that, but do they even matter? They do, but it's just like, if they're uninvolved, then it's kind of like you do your own thing.
Yeah.
You end up doing your own thing. So it is a clash still.
Yeah. Authoritarian and permissive are probably the ones I see most, the biggest clash. So let me ask it this way then. When two parents are the same in their style, what difference does that make?
Oh.
Like two authoritarian parents or two permissive parents or two authoritative parents.
Well, and I don't think necessarily that that's probably the best. That's the best kind of outcome, really.
Okay.
Because like we said before, it doesn't mean that you love your kids less. It's just this is how we as parents are going to raise our child. And something that Armando always says is what consistency and predictability equals
overtime.
Sorry,
you got to put that in parentheses.
Oh, overtime. Okay.
Equals trust. Yes.
Equals trust, right?
His formula.
And what it does, it builds trust in kids. It's predictable. I know exactly what to expect from both of my parents. So when both of my
parents do the same style of parenting, then we achieve that.
We achieve trust, right?
We can achieve trust because we know it's predictable. It's consistent.
Predictable. It's consistent. And that's what I talk about a lot with my parents anyways. It's just being consistent. I don't care what you're doing as long as you're not harming your child.
So how many divorces centered around kids are based on having different parenting styles, do you think?
Oh, centered around it?
Basically, like, what do we got? Money, sex, kids, right? Those are the three. And then you have two more that they go to the court with, which is mental health and drug use.
Yes.
So there's like 5.
Yeah.
But how many of divorces do you think are centered around the fact that we don't align in our parenting styles and I just don't think it's good for the kids and so I left?
Oh, so I left, yeah.
So he divorced. Yeah, I divorced so-and-so.
Or we're already divorced and I don't like your parenting style, so then therefore you need less time with your kid.
Oh, I think that one seems to be, that one rocked me right there. I think I've seen that. I don't like your style of parenting, and so you should have less time with the kid because you suck as a parent.
My kid's coming to me and saying that you're too strict. It's too much, for them, and it's really bad over there, or they're being neglected, or something like that. And so then therefore I need to open up a case.
There's the
right?
complaints.
I need to open up a case because now we need less time with the other parent.
I hear it now. I think you might be right. So it does play in.
It does.
Okay.
I think it plays in with, like, not necessarily the ones where I'm getting a divorce and we're talking about custody, but it's more so we've been divorced or separated for 7 years. And now we have a new case
It's like the
opening
current
up.
post-divorce thing. It's like before divorce, that might not be the chief complaint.
Right.
But during the divorce or after, all of a sudden they're a shitty parent. Pardon my language, everyone, but you get the idea.
Yes.
Like, yeah, they're a bad parent
Yeah.
in some form. Okay. And it might be because of their style. Their style clashes with mine or whatever. The kid's complaining about their style of parenting.
Right.
I love what you said then, because you went back and said, look, none of these parenting styles that we're describing to you mean that you don't love your kid.
Right.
It's just your version of how you do parenting. Right. And it may not be it may not really be what's in, let me use that word. It may not be what is truly in the best interest of the child is the style that you're using.
Right.
However, your style doesn't mean you're a bad parent. Your style means that you still love your kid. You have a different approach.
Right. So
when you're co-parenting, learning your other co-parents' parenting style and learning to where y'all wiggle through that, because I guarantee you there's times when the permissive parent should be permissive.
Right.
Like it works there.
It works.
And there's times when the authoritarian parent does their version and it works there. And the authoritative seems to be so helpful because it has a little bit of all of it in it, doesn't it? There's some autonomy built in there. There's some rules built in there. There's discipline built in there. It has all the components.
Yep.
That's, okay, I think I'm just talking through it. I'm starting to see it now.
Yeah.
I get why it's in the middle. Okay.
It is.
That makes sense. So what's the last thing we need to touch on here?
I think the last thing is,
is it tips?
Tips. Yes. Number tips.
Oh, I can't wait. How many you got?
Well,
or do you know?
Count them? No,
well, I'll count them.
Know.
You just start going through the tips.
I think it's like 6. It might be like 6.
Got it. You go through the tips.
I think they'll also be in the bio. Okay, so the first one is focus on the bigger picture. So this is more so focusing on your shared values, what's in the best interest of your kiddo. So not necessarily just, nitpicking like, oh, they didn't let them eat this cereal because they didn't want to. And, who cares, right? That's not the big picture. That's like we're looking at the trees in this forest.
Okay.
Number 2 will be finding a common ground. And start there. Like you said, where they align. And that's just the easiest way to do it, because it's like, okay, we can agree on something.
Right.
We can agree. So let's start there, and then let's work out to where, we're kind of, I say clashing. Yeah. Number 3, pick your battles.
Ooh.
Not everything needs to be a fight, y'all.
You can let go of some stuff.
Some
you literally
things
have to just go,
don't
okay.
matter.
Yes. We should teach co-parents how to say that word. Yes.
That's so hard.
It's hard because people think they're giving something up when they say yes, and they're not.
How many times do you hear parents say, give up? I'm giving this up for you.
All the time. They say it as, I'm giving this up for you, instead of I'm just doing it because it's not worth doing anything else with. What difference does it make?
What difference does it make?
They didn't like the cornflakes. You didn't put any sugar on them or something.
They got food.
They ate. It just tastes like cardboard, but anyways. Yeah. Pick your battles. I love it.
Pick your battles. Yep.
Okay.
Number 4, be flexible. And that's kind of what we talked about with the continuum, and just we'll say like a parenting dance, right? Like a parenting style dance, figure out, who's going to lead in this one and who's going to lead in that one.
Ooh.
Who's vested.
Is that flexible? Is that what you meant by that?
Yeah.
Parenting style dance. Girl. Ooh, I'm still in that.
Good.
Yeah,
It came from
it's
here.
stolen. I got it. Love it.
And number 5 will be avoid undermining each other. Yes. So if you're I've had to talk to parents about this too. I actually have a case where there's a parent that's very authoritarian and a parent that's very permissive. And I had to talk to the authoritarian parent, and I was like, hey, you guys aren't really communicating, and if this other parent is allowing this to happen in their household, you can't necessarily do much in your own. I said, but keep your own values.
Yep.
And then the hope is that they'll kind of take it with them in the other parent's house, but we're not going to undermine. We're not going to say parent A is bad because they're letting you do X, Y, and Z. It's not your household.
What are you trying to accomplish by undermining is probably what I'd ask. I like that. Just like, what are you hoping to accomplish when you do that?
And with this parent, we did talk about that, and it was really their values. You know, they really wanted to instill these certain values in their kid, and they felt like they were not getting that in the other parent's home.
And I love what you said there, because I think authoritarian parents are really big on that, aren't they? There's like a value built into this.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, my father had one of the best things he ever said to me is he said, you have two teachers in the world, me and the world doesn't forgive, but I do. And what he meant by that is like, you can learn your life lessons one of two ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can tell you things, I can teach you things, I can show you things, and you're going to choose what you want to learn from me. But you can choose to learn nothing from me, and you can go out in the world and try it for yourself. And the world has no problem teaching you. It just doesn't forgive.
Right.
Like you will pay whatever price you're to pay by learning it the hard way.
Right.
But it is your choice. Boy, it kind of scared me a little bit, but it made me go, well, I'd rather go with the forgiving side.
Yeah.
You know, because the world's not going to forgive, you know, like if you break the law in the world, you go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you break my rule in the home, we're going to discuss it. And we're going to get back on track.
Right.
And we're going to figure out, and I'm going to love you regardless.
Yeah.
You know, that's that. I think that's what good parents do is like, it's almost like you had a permissive piece built into it. Go figure it out if you want to. However, by the way, yeah, just remember as you do that, this is a possibility. And he kind of brought that up. Here's rules here. He kind of realigned things for me. Oh, that's great. Okay. So avoid undermining one another.
Oh, and number 6. Yeah, there's 6. Okay. Different isn't always bad.
Different isn't always bad.
Yes.
Ooh.
Just because you guys parent different doesn't mean that it's a bad thing.
You know, and I think what a lot of parents don't realize is the two things that when they go to court and they're really kind of in contention with the other parent, if they really break it down to its roots, they're doing it out of fear.
Okay.
Past hurt. Well, I said 2, but it's 3. Fear, hate, which probably comes from the past hurt.
Yep.
Stuff that I haven't let go of. Right. So you have that forgiveness for one, love over hate, and faith over fear. Like if you can develop those 3 things, right? Love, forgiveness, faith. Then what happened? Well, that's all biblical. Where's Dr. Robbins?
Talking about the Bible again.
But it's in there. It's in the book, The Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth, TM, Bible. That came from a movie. TM. Yeah, that came from a movie. Yeah, Bible. It's in there, right? It is in there that is, you know, love and forgiveness and faith.
Yeah.
And boy, are all 3 present. Come family dynamics. Go figure.
Go fig.
I love it.
All
Different
right.
isn't always bad. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple takeaways. If I say anything wrong, correct me.
I will definitely do that.
I have a feeling you will. Authoritative parenting of the 4 styles is the best of the 4. If you're going to fall on one, fall into that one.
Yes.
Okay. Lean into other styles with your co-parent.
Yes.
Got it. Work on parentally aligning first. You know, when you're co-parenting. Try to align first on what do we agree on the target. We don't even agree on the target. How are you co-parenting, right? We don't even agree on where we're headed. Right.
It's like the whole taxi cab thing, you know? You're going to get in the back of a taxi cab and you're just going to sit there?
Yeah.
Or you're going to tell them where to go?
So if you and I are co-parents, we get in the taxi cab and you say, take us to the airport, and I say, take us to the beach, what's he going to do?
He's going to sit there.
He's going to sit there because the airport's not at the beach.
Right.
And he's like, so where am I headed? Well, why don't y'all figure that out? And that's literally how the kid feels as the taxi driver.
Yeah.
Like, why don't y'all figure that out so I know where we're headed, you know? And if not, the kid just starts driving the bus. When the kid drives the bus and the tail wags the dog, we got big problem come court time. Kids are not in charge. I'm sorry. It gets really hard. I've had to tell kids before, like, I see that right now, based on how this agreement's been made, that you guys have a lot of power. I'm really nervous that's going to change.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, and I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but yeah, we can either start working on that now, or y'all can just go ahead and have the bomb drop, because pull parents in, like, y'all got a lot of power here in your agreement, and I'm fearful with you guys being still in litigation that this is probably going to change at some point, because I've never seen a court say kids get to decide. Yeah.
Oof.
So it's rough. Okay. So some of your tips here, I got 6 of them. Focus on the big picture.
Yep.
Find common ground.
Yes.
Pick your battles.
Pick your battles.
Be flexible. Parenting style dance. I like that. Avoid undermining one another. Indifferent isn't always bad.
That's what it is.
We got it?
Yeah.
Anything I need to be corrected on?
Not today.
I want to thank you all for being here. Keep moving forward, everyone. So look here, everyone. We've created a free resource to help you understand the deeper dynamics that may be shaping your family's experience of divorce. It's called The Toxic Family Dynamics Unpacked, Understanding Triangulation, Parentification, and Alienation in High Conflict Divorces. In this course, I break down 3 of the most common and damaging patterns we see families navigating divorce. You'll learn how to spot them, how they impact your kids, and what you can start doing to move toward healing and stability. People often assume that they're seeing is alienation, but that's not always the case. Sometimes it's triangulation or parentification at play. Understanding the difference matters because the path forward depends on it. If you're ready to change the story in your family, visit www.brighterpossibilitiesfc.com/classes or the link in the show notes below to access the course for free. We're here to walk with you on your journey.